This is City Manager Bill Osborne, and welcome to another edition of On the Agenda. Today I will be talking about a topic that really has hit virtually everybody in this community, this state, and much of this nation. Not that many years ago, we had a lot of positive impacts here in this community, in the Atlanta area, in Georgia, and in much of the nation because of the growth that was taking place, the forward movement in our economy. But boy, have times changed in recent years. And of course, we have seen in that same area, locally, certainly, where the American people have been hit by a downturn in the economy. We have had people learning to get along in tough economic times. And while it could have been a lot worse, it's hard to tell that to a family that has seen their world turn upside down. Now, in a recent edition of On the Agenda, when I talked about my top 10 list in Douglasville for calendar 2010, I listed the city government's fiscal condition and the economy as number 3 on that list. And I pointed out that property tax revenues to the city government had dropped by approximately 12% in 2010. I noted that we had had revenue reductions in other areas such as sales tax, occupational licenses, hotel motel tax, building permits, even sanitation service fees. And I illustrated the weakening in the local and state economy with this statement that no sector of the economy in the Douglasville area was hit harder in 2010 than the housing industry. Foreclosures were at an all-time high, at least in our lifetimes, and the residential building permits were the lowest they had been in many, many years. Here's a capsule report of how bad it was in 2010, that countywide, 1 of every 16 homes was in foreclosure. There has been a 90% reduction in residential construction in this community since 2006, with a 20% decline during the year 2010. Only 14 building permits were issued by the city of Douglasville for new residential construction in calendar 2010. But at the local level, thankfully, there's a living, breathing example of the advice that it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And over the next half hour, we want to shine a light on what I think is excellent forward movement in our community, helping to deal with people who have the problem of foreclosures. And I hope you will stay tuned for that program. I want to welcome to today's program Chris Collier, who's Director of Piece by Piece Douglas. Chris, thank you for joining me today for On the Agenda.
Appreciate it, Bill. Thanks for having me. I commented on your last comment. I hope the candle's not burning at both ends.
Well, I'm sure sometimes it seems that way with what's going on with you. And later we'll talk about Chris's background, though I know a lot of you already know who he is. But we want to start this program just jumping feet first. So Chris, tell us, what is Piece by Piece Douglas and what's its objective?
Basically, Piece by Piece Douglas is a program that's a spinoff of a regional program that addresses the foreclosure issue in the Atlanta regional area. I attended along with 2 of our members, one past president, Jeff Camp, and our current secretary, Paul Zakas, back on November the 30th. The program put on at a regional level on Piece by Piece, and coming home afterwards, we talked in the car about how this would be applicable for Douglas County and the issues in Douglas County. So we began at that point to try, as a home builders association, to actually create a program or an initiative here on a local basis. We identified 3 basic areas as probably the most important 3 pieces to the program. The first one was to keep people in their existing homes. As a result of that, you don't have people getting foreclosed on.
Right.
Second of all was to get people into the available homes that have already been foreclosed upon that are out there. And third of all, to address unemployment or underemployment.
Right. Well, you know, we're showing the logo of Piece by Piece Douglas, and so that people can actually see the different pieces that you're talking about on this jigsaw puzzle. And I know recently that you made a report to Mayor Thompson and members of the City Council concerning the local foreclosure initiative. And I know over the past few months, you and others that you've just identified a couple of your key cohorts, but I know you've had a leadership team that in those 3 objectives that you just identified for us, we're going to talk about in some detail in this program. But I would point out to our viewers that the nature of taping a program as we're doing today, then it's going to be edited by our capable City TV staff, and then it will begin a first run on City TV for about a month. The first target program that I want us to talk about today is keeping people in their homes. Chris, I mentioned earlier in this program, and it was a figure that I heard several weeks ago, it may have been a figure that came from your office, that in 2010, 1 of every 16 homes in Douglas County was in foreclosure. I thought that was a stark, dramatic statistic. And I still think it is, but I think an equally dramatic statistic is the one that I saw recently from Piece by Piece Douglas in a flyer that said in calendar 2010 there were 7,857 foreclosure filings in Douglas County. Now think about that, ladies and gentlemen. In Douglas County in 2010, 7,857 foreclosure filings. Now, the national publication Forbes has named Metro Atlanta as one of this nation's emptiest cities due to the mounting residential vacancy rate. And now you've reported, Chris, that the state of Georgia consistently ranks 6th in the nation.
Yes, it does.
In foreclosure filings, and we know that Douglas County is among the top in the state of Georgia, not a designation we'd like to keep.
No, that's not good.
And in Metro Atlanta last year, there were 262,585 reported foreclosure filings. Let me repeat that number. That's a staggering number, ladies and gentlemen. In the Metro Atlanta area, 262,585 foreclosure filings. Now, clearly it's important to try to keep people in their homes. That's extremely important. So talk to our viewers about that aspect of your program.
Okay, Bill. Well, the first thing is the way that we address this program, we established task forces. We had a task force which was Keep People in Your Home task force. That task force took a look at the numbers and the statistics that you've given us, but it also took a look at how do we keep people in their homes. And one of the things that we felt is if we could address the information needed prior to foreclosure on a local basis and get people who are either facing foreclosure or concerned about facing foreclosure to come forward, we would be able to address that issue. We are running right now anywhere from 350 to 425 homes per month, and that's down a little from last year, but it's nowhere close to where it needs to be.
Right.
So we began to put together some programs. One of the groups that we worked with is a group called Credibility. They're a local company, but they're also national. They just have a local facility here in Douglas County. And Credibility does counseling, financial counseling, and also counseling with regard to your mortgage and to foreclosures and whatnot. We've set up a series of workshops. The first one actually was held in April. I believe the date was the 9th. It was on a Saturday. We held it at Greystone Power. We had no idea what kind of turnout to expect, but we had 25 families, a couple of ministers who were there kind of scoping it out as to whether they wanted to recommend it to their congregations. And of that, half of them, 13, basically requested counseling with Credibility, and we're moving through that process at this point. We thought that was very good. We had no idea whether we were going to have 13 or 1,300. Right. But we were glad to see 25 come. So we have that one set up. The next one is set up for May the 5th, which is a Thursday, from 7 to 8 p.m. It will also be at Greystone Power. We're going to be running one a month for the next quite a few months until we get this under control, and we are optimistic that this is the best way to approach it.
Very good. Well, certainly keeping people in their homes is, if you can deal with the problem up front,
yes,
before things have reached the point of people losing their homes and that house becoming vacant, vacant, so much the better. And so it would be great to make a dramatic cut in the number of foreclosure filings, but very important also for people to be able to move into the homes that are out there available at this time, and I know that's another aspect of your program. So tell us about that.
That is, it's a completely separate piece,
right.
And a lot of people try and tie the three pieces of this program together, and they don't necessarily tie together, right, because they're all addressing the before, the after, and sort of the during.
Right.
So in the other side, the flip side of that, which is getting people into available homes, we set up a task force that we call the Sales Task Force. Mm-hmm. And they have come up with a program that addresses the actual sale or purchase of foreclosed properties in Douglas County. There's some outstanding buys out there today. We look at homes that we're selling for $150,000 that in some cases can be bought for as little as $50,000 to $70,000. Mm-hmm. One of the major challenges, though, to selling foreclosed homes is the ability of people to visualize that home with all of the repairs made. Quite often at foreclosure, the family that leaves may well leave holes in the wall and do some damage because they're upset when they leave.
Sure.
So you may be looking at a house that's going to need completely new appliances. It may have an air conditioning unit, or it may not have an air conditioning unit because it was stolen for the copper, unfortunately.
Right.
And the carpets usually need to be replaced. There's sheetrock problems. Sometimes it's roofing problems. So what we did was we took a good look at how to sell a foreclosed piece of property, and we felt as though a piece that the real estate agents who handle those sales needed was an estimate of what it would cost to do the repairs. So we brought to the table a group of remodeling home builders who have volunteered to come in and do an estimate on what it's going to cost to repair those homes.
Right.
That estimate then will become part of the package that the real estate agent will be able to use. When they say you can buy this house for $70,000, it used to be worth $150,000, and the person says, geez, I can't picture what this home would look like when it's finished. They'll be able to say, well, here's a quote or an estimate. It won't be a quote, but here's an estimate that you can repair this house for, say, $23,000. Mm-hmm. So you're talking 70 plus 23, $93,000 to buy the home.
Right.
And then the typical buyer might say, well, that's great, but I don't have the $23,000 to repair the house with. And so we've paired it up with a program that's been around basically since the mid-60s called a 203K mortgage. And the 203K mortgage is designed for a person who would like to buy a piece of property and then after purchasing that piece of property, go ahead and make the necessary upgrades to that home to make it livable and comfortable. And so you start out then with the $70,000 that is provided to you at the time of closing, less your down payment. At the closing, and you purchase the property. The remaining $23,000 under the 203K is placed in escrow for those repairs to be made. Normally, they run somewhere in the area of 30 to 45 days and they're done. Right. The maximum under a streamlined program, which we're working with, is $35,000 in repairs. But there's a full program which will address whatever price we're looking at. Right. So anyway, pairing those three individuals or those three together as a team, the 203K agent, the remodeler, and also the sales agent, we hope will result in the ability to sell foreclosed properties. We're tying that into our May 1st, or first week in May deadline that we have on the program, to a point where we're going to have a parade of homes on the 7th. That parade of homes will be the foreclosed properties that we currently have in inventory at that time. So far we have over 100 homes, and it's just the middle of April that are making application to come into this program that are current Douglas County listings for foreclosed property. So we're optimistic that we'll have a good inventory. We probably will bring around 20 to 25 in by the 1st of May because we want to work them through gradually. But it's going to be an excellent opportunity for people to come and see two things. First of all, we're going to hold those open houses where we have a welcome center at some of the neighborhood stabilization homes that have been acquired under that program and completely restored. So those homes we'll have before and after pictures so that a person can come in and see this is what it used to look like and this is what a finished one looks like. And then they'll be able to apply that as they go out and go to the various homes that we'll have on the actual tour that are foreclosed properties that obviously in most cases will need some repair work.
Right, that's great.
I don't want to talk too much. It's your turn.
You're doing fine. Now, if we were thinking of this being a three-legged stool, we've got one more leg of the stool, and I think when I mention this, some of you may have a puzzled expression to start with, but I think upon quick reflection, I think virtually everybody would agree that this is, what I'm about to say, is an integral part of an overall program, what it would take for it to be effective. And Chris mentioned this briefly earlier, and that's addressing the issue of unemployment and underemployment. So talk to us about that, if you would.
Okay. The third piece, as you say, the third leg on the three-legged stool, basically addressed underemployment or unemployment. It's difficult to buy a home if you're unemployed or underemployed. It's also difficult to hold on to a home under those circumstances. So what we wanted to do was also offer some counseling service and some employment opportunities within our local community. And we teamed up on this piece with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Douglasville Development Authority, also the Douglas County Development Authority, and also ARC. What we would like to put together under this side is, first of all, a database of job opportunities. Second of all, bringing in the available training and continuing education programs that are available. And quite often when people are downsized or outplaced with a firm, they do get funding. I know that's a recent case here in Douglasville, where the employees were given proceeds or money to go back and retrain. And what we want to do is be able to make a one-stop shop that a person can go to, that if they're either unemployed, underemployed, or anticipating being unemployed, can go to. And that is being operated right now by the Industrial Development Committee for the Chamber of Commerce.
Great. Well, I appreciate you kind of taking us through each of those legs of that three-legged stool. Let's turn for just a minute, and I know that you talked about how you first got involved with this with a couple of the people with whom you were working at that time, but and you've been a leader, of course, in putting all of this together and moving forward. So tell us a little bit about it, and you have been involved with us, I know, here in the city of Douglasville. We think of you with the Home Builders Association. So talk to us about kind of what's going on with the association, and then how you managed to end up with what you're doing right now is kind of a dual life.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to address the Home Builders Association, because it has been a very challenging 3 years for the association. We've actually dropped from 330 members down to 74 members. There are not a lot of builders left in Douglas County right now. And as the market begins to come back, we think the market's going to be different. We're going to have to take a good look at how we do business, or how we did business in the past compared to the way we do now. Our objective here was actually to address the problem of trying to stabilize the housing market. You cannot justify building a new home when you can buy a home for less than 50 cents on the dollar. That's less than just the materials cost. Also, there's not going to be any banker who's going to loan you any money to go build a home when it's going to immediately drop in value. So that's the reason we saw 14 permits. In the entire county, if I remember right, it was only about 154 permits. And so as a result of that, we need to begin to start looking at how do we rebuild our industry. And the foundation upon which we have to start is to stabilize home prices. And that's why we went out. The first people we brought to the table when we began to work on this project was the Douglas County Development Authority and the West Georgia Board of Realtors. We went to those two, brought them to the table, and talked about the idea and the program, and very quickly it evolved into a pretty good sized task force. Everything that we have done for the first 90 days have been in the form of a task force. We will be transitioning after May 1st from task force to committee structure, and we will establish our directors rather than our leadership task force who will help direct us. And some of those that do that, that are involved in that, obviously, are the county and the city. We also have both development authorities. We have the housing authority, on which I serve, so as a result of that, it brings them to the table. The Atlanta Neighborhood Development Partnership, which is ANDP. Also Greystone Power, Georgia Power has stepped up with interest in the program and support, and I think that pretty well gets them.
Okay.
But it's a good group of sound business people. Oh, and the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
Can't forget the Chamber.
Right. And you know, and I think leaders who are best equipped to lead are people who have kind of been through the struggle to get to the leadership. And I know that over the past 3 years, when you talk about what's happened with the Home Builders Association, that's hit you direct. And I know I heard when you spoke to the mayor and council, you talked about your own experience of having to deal with financial institutions, even though you had a background in that, dealing with all the government agencies, the complexities, because I'm sure a lot of the people that are in the foreclosure situation, not only has their world come tumbling down, in other words, a lot of these families, they've seen incomes virtually vanish, they've seen savings and investments basically disappear. The uncertainty that is in their life then replaces what they thought was a smooth pathway to retirement. And you've had to go through some things that I assume, and I believe, probably make you better equipped to do what you're doing now and working with people who are having to go through some of the same things you've already stepped through.
Having walked down that road myself, looking at the changes in the Home Builders Association, the income that I get, point I am, close to retirement, not as close as I thought I was, but close to retirement. You know, I found that, you know, having walked in those shoes, having experienced what it was like to be a builder back in the 80s and now going through it again in 2010, it's not all that different. As a Home Builders Association, we also had a three-legged stool. And that three-legged stool was specifically designed to help our membership get through what was ahead. And it included, first of all, a program where we brought in knowledgeable people in the areas of everything from bankruptcy, dealing with banks, personal finances, and we tried to educate our members. That was leg one. Leg two on the stool was that we tried to help deplete inventory as much as we could. We had a parade of homes and several other events where our members didn't pay anything to participate. It was just, let's see if we can get you out of inventory. And the third piece is a very interesting piece, which has been key, I think, to our association, and that's the involvement of an association chaplain. We brought Max Kaler from the First Methodist Church on to our volunteer staff. Max has been outstanding over the last 3 years, but those three pieces are what has basically gotten us through this. I don't only build three-legged stools, but it seems like the ones that work are three-legged because they don't rock.
Right.
You know, they're pretty stable.
Right, very good. Well, we'll do this twice before we conclude this program, and that is we will give you a telephone number and an email address so that you know how to get in touch with Chris Collier of Piece by Piece Douglas. And we're going to give you the email address at this time. We're going to show you the phone number. And if you don't get it written down now, we'll give you another chance later. But you may already have had your interest piqued with what we've said, and we've got more to tell you. So give us that email address.
Okay, let me give you three pieces rather than just two. I'll also give you our website.
All right.
Okay, it is www.piecebypiecedouglas.com. Our email address is whba@bellsouth.net, and our phone number is on the screen. Okay, very good.
Chris, you mentioned a couple of agencies, and of course, as city manager, I do want to point out the City of Douglasville and the City of Douglasville Development Authority is involved in this. But as you've pointed out initially, you had the Board of Realtors, the Douglas County Development Authority being involved, and I think you're seeing more and more groups get involved. And I dare say as we move down the road, the organization's effectiveness and ability to carry out its mission will be strengthened as you get more people, more organizations involved in this.
We're hoping to have a good bit of support on a local basis. Piece by Piece Douglas is a local initiative, and we are the first county under the Piece by Piece Regional to put a program such as this together. In fact, our county is getting a lot of credit for it. I was invited today to speak to the ARC group, the regional meeting for elected officials on the 24th of May. We also are speaking to Clayton County Housing Summit on, I believe that's the 10th of May. Okay. So there's been a lot of interest from other areas where we're able to take what we've been able to do and share it with them.
Very good. And we're showing you on the screen at this time the list of organizations that at the time we taped this were involved. So if you would like your organization to be included, if you'll get in touch with Chris, and there are a number of ways that people can get involved. You want to talk with us a little bit about some different ways that people might get involved in Piece by Piece Douglas?
Okay, be more than glad to. First of all, any type of volunteers, anything from envelope stuffers all the way to computer gurus, website people. If you're a licensed real estate agent, obviously we'd like your support with regard to promoting and selling the foreclosures that we have. And if you are a local church group, if you would encourage the members of your organization who have issues that may relate to potential foreclosure, encourage them to come to our workshops. Those workshops are free of charge, and I have not found a group better than Credibility, or we would have gone with them.
Right, very good. Now, for those of you who do have an interest in this, you can get a copy of the partner information form. There's a long list, because I've looked at it, of skill sets that you're looking on with people, and as you said, it's not just the home builders or rehab contractors. I saw you had grant writers, researchers. So we're not going to try to go over the full list, but everybody's got a talent, and so if you have an interest here, if you'll make contact with Piece by Piece Douglas, they will send you a partner information form, and if you fill that out and get that back to you, I'm sure that when they get it back to you, it won't be a long delay before they'll hear something from you.
No, it won't take long at all.
Right.
Will not.
But now, in addition to people who may want to involve with their talents and skills, you do take money.
Yes, we do. We have some sponsorship programs, and we would welcome any local business or individual, for that matter, who'd be interested in a sponsorship opportunity. Please don't hesitate to give a CL.
Right.
It takes money to run this program, but it doesn't take a lot.
Right.
We're working with assets that we don't have to acquire. We don't have to pay, in most cases, for our advertising and promotion, thanks to individuals such as yourself and the city of Douglasville, also the local newspaper and the printed media that we have. But we do have a need for some money.
Right.
We've got signs that we have to purchase and things of that type. So
right.
Yeah, we would love to have some dollars.
Very good. And the information that Chris can send to you, I know again from looking at one of the sheets you have, gives a little bit more information on that. So if you feel like that you can be supportive of this worthwhile endeavor, if you'll get in touch with Piece by Piece Douglas, that would be great. Now, Chris, you've talked about some of the things that you have coming up over the next few weeks, but I know that this is an evolving operation. There will be more and more things that will be happening. And so, again, if they will get in touch with you, I'm sure that from time to time your partners receive updates from you, or will be receiving updates from you to let you know about different things that are scheduled.
We actually, on our website, we have a link that goes to our database where you can go in, sign up, and you'll automatically get email newsletters that will be going out on a regular basis, and any announcements that we make. So I would encourage people to go to our website. Once again, that's www.piecebypiecedouglas.com.
Very good. And again, we'll put the new phone number up. Be among the first to call Chris on this new phone number.
Thanks.
So, and Chris, I always give my guest one final opportunity for a comment before we sign off. So this is our final opportunity to hear from you today.
You know, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this. We pretty well covered it very well. Our main purpose in this is try to stabilize our economy on a local basis, and as much help as anyone in the community can give. Also, I don't have and we don't have all of the ideas. So if anyone has any suggestions, feel free to get in touch with us, share them with us.
Very good. I want to say to our viewers, thank you for joining us today. The whole issue of foreclosures is something that's just made major upheavals in our community, not just here in Douglasville, Douglas County, but in so many other places. And I think hopefully during this half hour we have shined a light in the darkness that a lot of people are feeling because of what's happened in the economy. Chris, appreciate what
Thank you
you
very
and
much.
your group are doing. Wish you a great success. Thank you for joining us today on The Agenda. This is Bill Osborne, City Manager, signing off till next time. Have a great day.